What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. We're going to go through some combos for this Utopia deck that I profiled yesterday, so if you want an in-depth explanation on card choices and ratios and whatever, check that video out. I'll link it down below. Now, this list is slightly different than the one I posted yesterday. I had mentioned in that video that I was playing additional copies of cards that I really didn't think I needed, and I was just undecided on what to fill the spot with. I had mentioned that hand traps were probably the way to go, and so the tweaks that I made were I cut one of these, and I cut one of these. Everything that came out is down here, actually. I also cut the Tornado Bringer from the ZW lineup. They kind of suck to draw. You really only want to be equipping them off of Leo's own effect. The Lightning Blade's not terrible because it can equip itself from the hand. This one can brick a little bit if it's opened. And the reason I decided against the Tornado Bringer being in there at all is because you're really only equipping it to Leo, and Leo is usually going to have 6,000 or more attack points. Plus, it's got that effect to negate an effect and cut that monster's attack in half, meaning for them to attack over your Leo, they would likely need to summon a monster with 12,000 or more attack, which is unlikely, and if they manage to do it, they deserve to win that one, and so I figured cut that. And then finally, I cut the extra rank up the Zexal Force because I got rid of the ZW Xyz rank 5 that searches a Zexal card. The only reason I was playing this in the first place was because if you search it, you could then rank up your Utopic Sage into the Zexal guy and then search an extender from there, and that just felt really clunky. Like, there were just way better plays that could be made. And what I replaced all that with were 3 Ash Blossom and a Nibiru. Nibiru is searchable off the Gallon Granite, that's why it's only in there at 1. Ash is just a good hand trap, goes well with the Imperm. I put the Zeus in place of the ZW Xyz monster, and I got rid of the 62 as well and put the Buzz King in just because I wanted to play around with this. This card's super cool. I can't wait for it to come out. It seems like it should be meta relevant. You can make it in Horus really easily, and you can also make it in this really easily. Being able to rip something out of your opponent's extra deck and then having a pop every single turn that can do burn damage potentially is great. So, awesome card. But with all that out of the way, we'll get into the combos here. So first one will be 2 cards. You just need any 2 cards that you can get on the field. So essentially disregarding everything from Pegasus Twin Saber on, if you can get a combination of any 2 of these, generally, you can get them both on the field. There are some other combinations that won't work, like Astrotopia with any of these wouldn't really be good, but for the most part, you're going to be able to get a pair of any of these in your hands at some point, and so we'll get right into it. So starting off here, we got our 2 monsters that you can get on the board. Turn 1, so we'll normal summon. You can use either effect to summon the other monster here. If this was the gloves instead of the coat, you would just use this effect to summon it instead. And now you're set to go off. This little play line here is going to be in pretty much every combo that we go moving forward. So we'll grab the double. Double is going to summon, and then you're able to use its effect to detach 1 and search the Double or Nothing. Now, Double or Nothing we don't really use for anything in the deck because you're never really leaving the Utopia on board to do that little OTK play. I suppose you could. I'm not playing Lightning because it doesn't let you rank up on top of it, and a lot of this is built around making Leo and making Dragonar. But after we search our Double or Nothing, you get to overlay a new Utopia monster, so we'll put the Leo on board, and then we'll activate the Leo. So he does get the attack doubling, so he's at 5k, and now he's going to be at 6k with the extra negate. So we'll detach another one. We'll get the Twin Saber from the deck, and now you have a negate in his own effect because he's equipped with something. It's a quick effect negate, and it cuts that monster's attack in half. You also have the Twin Saber negate, which is non-chainable too, and so you just, boom, negate something. You're ready to go. So this is just a pretty decent play. Really, you can do this in any rank 4 deck. Like, as I was playing around with this, I was considering trying to shove this in Boojans to see if I like it, because this is pretty nuts. You got to play the 1 brick, but 2 negates off of 2 monsters is pretty decent. Now for the second version of this 2-card combo here, we're going to say we have Ascended Sage plus anything that you can normal summon. It could also be the Arm Sage, it could be whatever else, because this gets the free special summon, which we'll do because the board's empty. So we'll throw that on board, we'll use our normal summon or whatever other summon you can get on the board, and then we'll overlay, we'll make Utopia. We got to make the Utopia first here because we're going for the Dragonar first in this version of it. We're going to use the effect that Ascended grants the Utopia to search our rank up magic, and then we're going to overlay on top of the Utopia for the Prime, because this way we'll be able to use Dragonar's effect twice. We'll activate our rank up in order to put Dragonar on top of Prime, so it's now got 4 materials. We're going to activate the effect here to detach 2 and special summon the Leo, and when the Leo hits the board, you're able to equip the Rum in the Graveyard to it as a material, meaning you can then use its effect right away to detach that Rum and equip the Twin Saber to it. So now you have your 2 negates. Also, if they were to attack you, you would have the ability to reduce set attack to 0 with the Dragonar. His attack is much lower now because we didn't use the double to summon it, but 35 is still pretty beefy. And you have this loaded up for the next turn. So if we were to pass turn here, we also have the Rum back in the graveyard. And, you know, obviously we probably would rather have the 38 on board instead of this when you pass the turn, but it's not as powerful like in the grand scheme, I suppose, because you won't be able to use this to set up your 2 negates or any negates at that point if you were to do it that way. So when you pass turn, you would quick effect use the Dragonar's effect again to special summon the 38. As soon as you have an action that you can respond to, you're going to summon the 38 and equip it with the Rum, and then you have that spell negate, you have these 2 monster negates, and you have that ability to change an attack to 0, or I guess redirect an attack and also change it to 0, but they're all kind of the same attack, so it doesn't matter. But like I said, unfortunately you have to do it in this order, because if you do it the other way around, you would be making this attaching a material to it, but it doesn't have a quick effect because it doesn't have anything equipped to it, and it can't use its effect to equip anything to it on your opponent's turn. So this is the best you get out of that. Or for the next combo here, we're going to call it a 2.5 card combo, but the 2 that you open are fairly broad. So you need an Animat monster and Animata pickup or Animata para, or you could get a pickup and a para. So as long as you have one of the monsters and a search spell, or both of the search spells, you can do this whole combo, and then this upstart here will just be a blank card for discarding. We'll start with the Animata pickup, we'll search the para. It's an important note that you can also search the Utopic off of the pickup, so that's why you would be able to get away with having both of the spells. You would just search this with this one, and you would search the other 2 with this one. But we'll grab the para in this instance. We'll use the para, we're going to discard our blank card, and then we're going to search the other 2, so Utopic and Glove. And now this 3 monster lineup in your hand is great for comboing off and making a big board, because it's essentially 5 bodies if you do everything in the right order. So we're going to normal summon the Utopic. The Utopic's effect's going to activate, and we'll summon the other 2 monsters. Then we're going to overlay for the Sage. Utopic Sage is a free special summon. We want to make sure we leave the coat on board so that we can get these 2 guys back out of the graveyard. We'll use the Sage. We'll get rid of the 2 materials attached, and we're going to summon the Ascended Sage. We'll then use the coat in order to get our Utopic back. It's got to be the Utopic specifically, because this guy doesn't have an effect to put himself back out of the graveyard, but this guy does, so we'll do that as well. And now we got 4 bodies again. Now whatever you use to make the next monster doesn't really matter, it just has to be Ascended plus something. So we're gonna make the double. You're gonna do that same Leo play here, but it needs to be under a Utopia monster to get that search effect. And so we are grabbing our rank up off of the Ascended being used for a Utopia double summon. Then we will use the Utopia doubles effect. You detach whatever order at this point, grab the double or nothing, make the Leo, and you know the drill. Leo is going to use his effect, detach the other monster, grab the Twin Saber, and now you've got your 2 negates set up here with your 6k Leo. Now with our other 2 monsters here, we're going to go with Utopia, and then we're going to climb up again into the Prime. And we already have our rank up in hand, so we'll use our rank up to get to the Dragonar again. On the Prime, Dragonar set up with its 4 materials. We'll use that Dragonar now to make our number 38. We'll throw 38 on board. If you're going second, you probably would make the Buzz King instead, just a note there. The Rum is going to be able to attach itself, so now he's got material. And so now this board that you would be passing has the 2 effect negations, the 1 spell negation, the attack change to 0, and then the Utopic Sage can banish itself from field or graveyard to protect a Utopia light monster, which is either of these, from being destroyed. So if they had Dark Hole or whatever, Raigeki, whatever the kids are playing these days, you'd be able to prevent that one of them from being destroyed. So there is that as well. Now the downside here is that when you pass the turn, you don't really have a way to detach the Rum from the number 38. I suppose you could just not use that effect and leave it in the graveyard, because you don't really need its effect to change attack targets anyway. We're just here for the spell negation. But you will pass the turn, and then on a summonable action, or better yet, if you can survive until the end phase, you know, if you keep this board up, you would just end phase effect use the Dragonar again to make the Buzz King, because the Buzz King can attach material to itself out of your opponent's graveyard. So on its summon, it'll rip a card out of your opponent's extra deck. You get to pick it, so you get to see the extra deck. Sick. And then when the turn comes back to you and you're in standby phase, you can take 1 card, not monster, any card out of their graveyard and put it on him as material, and then he can detach material to pop something, and then if what he popped is a face-up monster, you can burn for that monster's attack points. So this thing is nuts. But there you have it, 2.5 cards. We'll keep it rolling. And then for the last combo, I guess there's two versions of it, but we'll just run through it once and I'll explain where it branches and how it'll differ when we get that far. We're going to assume you open 2 of your Onomot cards again, so it could be one of each spell, it could be a monster plus one of the spells, whatever it is, you're in business. And then the Utopia. This one is the one that you can't really count on because you can only play 3 plus the 1 Rhoda. It's not really searchable off of anything else, so if you get the best hand possible, here we are. So now we'll start with the pickup, I suppose. We'll grab our Utopic Onomatopoeia to start ourselves off here. Then we'll use our Onomatopoeia to discard one of our blanks to grab the other 2, the coat and the dwarf glove. Utopic will be our normal summon, then we'll use its effect to put the other 2 on board. This should be fairly familiar at this point. We're then going to overlay, making the Sage 1/2, and at some point one of your extra deck monsters is going to have to go in an extra monster zone. We'll do it this one just so I don't forget it later. We'll detach the 2 and we will search the Ascended, put them right on the board there. Now we're going to use our Astrotopia, we're going to special summon it. Now once it's on the board, we can send from the field or hand a card and then search a different card. And if this was in your opening hand, you could send this and then you would be able to like choose one of the other blanks in your hand to keep because it could be something useful, hopefully. But because we're not assuming that this is specifically what we opened, we're going to get rid of the blank and we're going to get the search. So now right here it branches. You can grab this Excellent Trust and this will allow you to extend into an F-Zero with a Nibiru in hand, which is not going to really be as good because you're going to have a ton of effect negation on the board, a ton of big monsters, a little bit of destruction prevention there, so you probably won't be wanting to Nibiru. So we'll grab the Numbers Protection instead, but just know that that is also an option. Really any of these 4 is an option, so like in the instance where you did have this and maybe you opened one of these, you would just search probably the Change Tactics just because it gives you quite a few draws here in a moment. We got quite a few Utopia monsters to make, but for now we'll grab the Numbers Protection just because I think it's the safest route to go. We're going to use our coat to get our Utopic back, and then we're going to use our glove out of the graveyard to get it back as well. So now we've got 5 level 4 bodies on board. We're going to overlay into a Utopia here. We got to use the Ascended, and now you can use whatever monsters for materials. Just so long as Ascended is one of them because we need that search for the rank up. So we'll grab that rank up, and then like I had mentioned, if you had the additional search because of the other things that I talked about, and you had to search the Xyz Change Tactics instead and activate it, there's 1 draw. Here is another draw to make the Prime, and then you'll get an additional draw to make the Dragonar right there. He's loaded up with his 4 materials. Then we're still going to make Leo, so there's 4 draws and 2,000 life points that you're burning, which would mean that if you were to open like the Twin Saber or something, you would have that special summon. We'll use our Dragonar to make our number 38. You can just choose to not use this effect for the Hyper Rank Up magic to attach it because you don't need that attach effect really. We'll do it just because there's nothing else to really attach it to. Unless you decide to summon something other than the Buzz King, like if you put something else in there. Whatever you're up to, I don't know. We're going to keep going here. We're going to make the Gallant Granite. We're going to overlay. We'll throw the Gallant Granite on board. So now we do play the Nibiru as the additional search target, but more importantly, we play the Gigantus as the additional extender. So we'll grab our Gigantus. Then we're going to use our Gigantus to make another Xyz monster. So here and here, we have F-Zero. We'll get to that in a moment. We're going to make our double. We're going to make our Search and Leo. So we'll grab our double or nothing. We'll get our Leo. Extra deck's starting to get a little thin here. This feels very Teller Knight-ish. We'll use our Leo's effect. We'll grab our Twin Saber. Then we're going to make our F-Zero. So you are giving up the ability to use the Utopic Sage's protection effect, but when you pass turn, if you end up with the option to use this right away, just detach the Sage and now you have the protection as well. So the board you are ending with is this guy's set up to make a Buzz King when you pass the turn, which will give you that rip out of their extra deck. This will give you that spell negate. This will give you the negate and steal. This will give you a monster negate and cut an attack in half. This will give you a monster negate. We also set our Numbers Protection, and because we control money number monsters, only number monsters actually, because this guy counts as C39, if your opponent activates anything, you essentially Solemn Judgment it for free. If they were to destroy any of your number monsters by some strange happenstance, you would then be able to set it back on the board and then you could use it again. So insane. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negates. The attack dump to 0, the rip out of the graveyard. Crazy, crazy hand. Obviously it was a 5-card hand, but it really wasn't. It was a 3.5 card combo. Yeah. But that's going to wrap it up for today. I feel like I may have rambled there a little bit. Hopefully I can edit it together in a way that is consumable. If you've got other ideas for tech choices or combo lines for this particular deck, leave them down below, please. This one's been really fun, really interesting, so try it out. It's also very cheap, so for you budget players out there. I know I'm one of them. Give it a go. Once again, if you're interested in a more in-depth deck profile, that will be linked down below. You can check that out. It's also just on the channel. It should be the video uploaded right before this one, and so you can find it that way as well. Happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.